Hey, everybody, welcome to the Boy Mom Podcast. I'm Suzanne Carowin, your host, and I'm so excited today to be with two people that I have absolutely been watching and watching on social media like a hawk for the last, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 years. But they're out, I've known them kind of from afar and mostly through Facebook, but I'm excited to sit down and have a conversation today. So, Cole, welcome to the program. Jen, welcome to the program. Cole, I'll send it over to you and let you introduce yourself and
All
talk a
right.
little bit about who you are, what you're doing in life, and whatnot.
My name is Cole Potts. I'm 24. Currently, I just finished my football career here at JMU after 5 years. So currently, I'm also finishing my master's degree.
All right, awesome. Jen.
Good. I'm Gen Yanulavich. I'm Cole's mom. I have been in real estate for 25 years on and off. I'm a branch manager for a mortgage bank locally. Um, and I have three kids, two boys and one daughter. Cole is my middle child. So I've got a 28-year-old. Cole just turned 24 and a 20-year-old daughter and a 3-month-old grandson. So
Amazing.
thank
Welcome
you
to
for
the
having
program.
us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to start off with I'm going to go to you, Jen, to start with and ask when do you, so even though we can go with whatever son, whatever birth order you want to go with, but when did you, when you say you're a mother and you name off the child's age, when do you consider you became a mother?
So you might not know this about me, but was very young when I started out. I was away at college at Malone on a volleyball scholarship and went to a Christian high school. Was brought up in church and went away on a college volleyball scholarship and ended up becoming pregnant. I became pregnant when I was 18 and came home and told my parents, I'm not going back to school. Why did you flunk out? No, I didn't flunk out, but I'm having a baby. And my parents were super, super supportive, anything they could do. So I stayed home. My parents helped me raise my now oldest, Jacob. I was 19 when I had him and had 3 months to prepare for that birth and finished some college and started working in the real world to support him. I think he raised me and I raised him all the way up until, I don't think I had it under my belt until maybe my third child, you know, Cole still learning and a young mom. I was 23 when I had him, so when I had Cole. But
Wow,
I
that's
think our first kid raises us just as much.
yeah, don't I? 100%. And I'll tell you, those kids, they bring out everything in you. If you have anything unfinished business or anything, all your
Mhm.
aspirations, all your fears, they all come out through motherhood. So
Yeah.
when you're going through that, I mean, incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I think one of the things I find in today's world is so if we can touch on that, if you're good with that, and
Yeah.
that's all I'd like to ask you the question, but we find so many women, especially nowadays, who are really anti being mothers. And you
Mhm.
actually said yes to this at a very young age when you didn't have to. But
Yeah.
what kind of possessed you to, or what would you share with people who are saying we don't need to be mothers? I'm telling myself I don't want to be. Especially when they say, or they have to have everything perfect before
Right.
they choose to be a mother.
I am a big, big believer in God's timing, and God allows us to walk the life we walk. And then, if we make mistakes, we're responsible for those mistakes or we're responsible for that action. And I think it was just something that, you know, God sees our roadmap of life, and that was my roadmap of life. I had always wanted to play college ball, and then I did play college ball. I played one season of volleyball, had a scholarship. I was 6 months pregnant playing volleyball, but nobody knew. And then, um, it's something where did it ever cross my mind that, oh my gosh, I'm 19 years old. I'm not ready to do this. I have my whole life ahead of me. Absolutely. But with supportive parents and being brought up, that's not really an option in my mindset. Um, Adoption was always an option, but it's something that I felt I was ready to take that step and be a mom. And I love, love, love kids. And God put me in that spot for a reason. And my parents were there to support me. And, the family just embraced me, my sisters and brothers. So,
Oh, what a wonderful story. So,
yeah.
Cole, kind of over to you because I have a feeling this idea of God's timing. Have you heard this a couple times growing up? Has this been a theme of something your mom has perpetually said to you?
Yes, for sure, absolutely. God's timing, as in like going to St. Paul in 8th grade and stuff like that. Like, just it's His way of like controlling everything that happens for being a reason.
So, with that, Jen, how did that so here you were, you're an athlete, right? Still an athlete, and now you have these babies. So, how'd you get your boys into athletics?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was all, something they've always been in athletics. Jacob started out in soccer and wrestling and football, and Cole was in wrestling from the time he was, geez, 6 months old. He was in a singlet, and then football and baseball. They've all, always been in there. Um, my ex husband, Cole's dad, very athletic. He played college sports as well, always coached the boys, and I coached volleyball a little bit, but it was always athletics were always in our household. If they were in trouble or they had too much energy, we had 100-yard driveway, or they were fighting, I sent them out to do laps to the mailbox and back and run around the house. And, I don't send them to their room. I send them to go out and run it off.
So, it's funny you should say that because right now in my life, I do a lot of both teaching kind of thing and oversight of a ton of kids between the ages of 4 and 14. And inevitably, the boy moms start lining up outside the office and they start asking me. And here's the question they always ask. So they start saying to me, Suzanne, I can't get my son to sit down and do his math and English homework on like Saturday morning, right? And that I can't get him to sit still and do these things. And I'm always like, do you have other boys in the home? Always no. And then the second thing I go, what does your household look like at Sunday about 5 o'clock?
Right.
So can we talk about what did your household look like with these? You've got two boys now, right? So I
Yeah.
know there's some distance, but Sunday, 5 o'clock, right? The answer is
Oh my gosh. Crazy. Running around trying to get everything ready for Monday. Did you do your homework? Are your bags packed?
yep. And you run them, right? The answer is you
Yeah,
run 'em.
absolutely.
They have energy.
Absolutely.
They have tons of energy. So Cole, what about that? I mean, talk to me about, if you have to say three words about your mom, right? And you can pick any part of your life and when you started thinking about that. What are the three words that you would associate with her?
I'd say she's very dedicated, caring, and loving for sure.
So
And
what
I've
about the
seen
flip side?
the flip side.
Yeah, a little does she have times when she's is that look about we're boys here. So did you get all your discipline from the coaching or did you have any at home too?
No, I wasn't a very good kid. That's for sure until I got older. So yeah, there was discipline. Sit out at the pool and watch everyone else swim and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So how do you feel like that? Because I think that's another area where especially moms nowadays, moms that have kids between those ages of let's say 3 and 15, I think that they struggle. They struggle with the discipline and what to do with their kids. And how did you kind of what advice would you have for them right now? Both of you. Cole, you've done enough
Oh,
camps and everything else
yeah.
with kids. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just,
Go ahead,
listen to
Cole.
your parents, like, they understand, like, they're disciplining you for a reason. They're trying to teach you lessons, so, like, whatever you're doing wrong, there's a reason for if you could getting hurt doing it or whatever it is, like, there's a reason why your parents are disciplining you. They're not because 'cause they're mad at you or trying to be mean to you, but more protect you and try to teach you lessons.
So when Cole was little, his big thing, anytime he'd get in trouble or sent to his room, typically it was for picking on his sister or just, jumping off the wall, haywire. It was, can we have a redo? Can we start the day over? And I'm like, Cole, that's not how life is. As much
Well,
as I would love to start this day over with you not being in trouble or not having to sit in timeout, that's not how life is. You have to take responsibility for what you just did and, pay your penance or pay your consequence to your actions. So I'll tell you, I can't 100 times a day. Can we start the day over? Can I have a redo? So, but he was a good kid. He
takeover.
was a typical, yeah, he was a typical boy. And did he get spanked? Yes, he absolutely did get spanked. I think that's a little different than things are handled now, just with my siblings and their kids. But every child's different, how you handle them. And, things have definitely changed in the last 24 years, how they recommend us handling it. But um, he was a handful at times. My mom would be like, is good Cole or bad Cole coming over today?
Ah, yeah, yeah. Cole, do you remember those times?
Yes, very much, for sure.
And what about let's go a little bit forward. What about when you get into the what I like to call the weirdo middle school years? What kind of kid were you in middle school?
I'd say, well, I did 3 sports in middle school: football, baseball, and wrestling, so, like, I was very occupied with those 3 things.
Yes.
Uh, Weirdo, I wouldn't say weirdo, I guess, like, outside of sports, it was hunting and stuff like that. Went to Northridge, so I had friends there, but there really wasn't much, like, off time with all the 3 other sports and then hunting and everything else.
That's exactly my mom methodology. Keep them busy. Keep
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very busy, right? Very, very busy. Yeah, we have a lot of and I say that because I think one of the areas that people struggle with is that there's almost this separation between the kids that are in sports. If you look at the have you seen the drop off numbers of sports? Like there's these kind of pruning years. Like everybody puts their kids in some sort of sport, and about like third grade, like a ton of them drop off. By fifth grade, a ton of them drop off. By like high school, it's hardly anybody still in sports. By college, Cole, right? You're into the 7% kind of thing of people that go on to play collegiate sports. So that's unfortunate, right? So we have this happening, and at the same time, we've got this return for people like Cole, your age, right? This return to wanting to be alpha males. But there's this part where like boys don't know where they fit. They're struggling now. They don't know where they fit, and if you don't play sports, you're in front of your iPad or your phone all the time, right? And now we're going to say we shouldn't have that anymore. But there's something out there that people are searching for, which is one of the reasons I like to do this podcast. So I'm going to turn this one to you, Cole. What do you see in your own group of guys, in your own teammates, et cetera, your own people at school at 24 years old? What are you seeing out there with men?
Uh, I'd say, like, there's 2 different kinda groups, I guess you could say, like, athletes wise, like you see a lot of people my age are like constantly busy no matter what time of the day it is, from morning to night, constantly, either if it's doing their academics or if it's sports or whatever. Like it's a ton of people that have a ton of goals, trying to reach those goals, even if they may be like out of reach or whatever it is for some kind of people. And then like the other side, I'd say like non-athletes that are in college, a lot of them are on the other side of it, like such as academics, constantly doing academics more than I'd say like the average athlete, and then they have their jobs also outside of school. So and I'd say college men, college people like me, a lot of people just have their goals no matter like what it is, like if it's trying to enter the workforce and make a name, build their resume, or if it's like sports, trying to be the best they can at that.
Yeah, Jen, what about you? What are you seeing out there?
Um, I see a lot. Cole's oldest brother was a college athlete as well. He played football. And so then I have both of them. And my daughter just was, she was drug everywhere from the time she was 6 weeks old. So she was in every sport, but then she never finished. Like you said, the drop off. She was about third grade and she called it quits with everything. Super athletic child, but, she was burned out going to everything of her brothers. I see it in my nephews too. It's you're either I don't want to call him a video game junkie. You're either in front of your video game and your screens all the time, or you're like my kids were, and you were outside coming in when the lights, came on, or screaming for you to come back from the neighbors or out of the woods. Or so I think that carries over a lot into their adult lives. And if they're going to be active and pushing themselves and out there, socializing, or if they're going to be stuck behind a computer and just, 30 years old and still in front of video games.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that there's a big gap right now, right? I think we need to figure out how we can kind of start filling in that gap. But Cole, I like what you're saying. At the end of the day, you need to be busy, right? Highly engaged and productive. And let's talk about that work ethic. So, Cole, talk to me about, where'd you get the work ethic? Did you not just
Uh,
have a choice? You just learned it because you were just
I'd
forced
say
into
most
it.
honestly, I'd say it came from wrestling. So, like, throughout, like, middle school and then, like, towards the beginning of high school, like, I recognized, like, you actually had to put work into something, like, if you wanted to be good at it, like, it just doesn't come naturally. For some people, they're gifted, but, like, wrestling is something, like, I always had goal of being, like, a state champion, and that's, like and then I had Coach Preston at the time, who was also ingraining into me, like, hard work, do extra work, stuff like that, because, like, everyone that goes through practice, but there's people that don't try, or like there's people that don't put in the extra work. But you gotta always stay busy and like do as best as you can and as much as you can.
So let's talk about that for a second, because you bring up, you're touching on a hypothesis that I have as well. So let me test it out. But you, when do you think, um, let's talk about that middle school into high school range, right in there, right? Or, and it maybe it was later, but you tell me, when did you start understanding, like, it was up to Cole Potts what you were going to do for your own self, and to have a vision for what you were going to do to accomplish for the future? It wasn't, for anybody else, but like at some point you had to do it for you and put in and decide what that meant for you. When do you have a sense of like when that happened?
I would say probably my sophomore year of high school. Like I'd say throughout middle school and like freshman year of high school, I was like playing it day by day, getting through the day, enjoying like my three sports. And then like sophomore year of high school, I was like, I actually want to have a future in sports. I actually want to have a goal. So like it's up to me to do this, not like just going through the motions and everything like that. So I'd say like sophomore year when you start to become like a young adult, like that's when you actually like figure out like what you want to do and what your future is.
And what did that look like to you? Like, how did you, what changed?
I started going to a trainer, so I started doing that, like, with mom and dad's help. Like, they're offering me anything I wanted to exceed in what I wanted to do. So I went to D1 every day, then I went to an Otterbein wrestling camp every day on top of practice at school. So, like, I was constantly staying busy trying to get better. And, like, I would say, like, just putting in the work, like, what other people weren't doing and stuff like that. Like, deciding, like, this is what I want to do and this is what I need to do to be able to reach that goal.
So, Jen, on that one, do you remember kind of this inflection point when he, like, sounds like he all of a sudden just buckled down and got serious about what he was aiming to do? Do you remember that kind of period clearly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's always been a kid that is early everywhere and puts in the extra effort and stays late. He's the last one to leave, he's the first one to get there. This started when he was younger. He works his butt off for everything. He's a natural athlete and he's naturally smart, but he puts in that extra oomph and that extra time. And I think it really clicked, probably like you said, beginning of high school, sophomore year, where it was like, this, you've got great, great potential and you're going to be able to do great things. So just whatever it is you need to do, let's apply yourself and take those steps.
So, on that note, let's talk the other side of it. Did you have naysayers? Were there people in there going like, "Oh, blah 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 blah, this is not going to happen," or, let's talk about, or were you like the gifted family, like you always, everybody in every sports team you've ever been on, all the parents were like, "He's the best. You guys are the best." It's always
So it's an interesting, I'll touch on this for a second. So his brother Jacob was at the public school Northridge, all-star football player, great wrestler, going through Little League, same thing. Same with Cole. It was, they're great players, great athletes, and we're just an athletic family. Katie was little and she'd always say, like, the Potts don't lose. Potts don't lose. Like, if you're part of our family, we don't lose. Very, very, very competitive family. Everything's a competition. But when Cole decided to leave public school for private school, which was a decision we made just because we really felt athletically, academically, it was going to be in his best interest to transfer him. That's when you're right. We had some naysayers. We had some chirping in the background, like, what's he doing? What's he thinking? And does that come from, is it jealousy, or is it, you're turning your back on your program that you grew up playing Little League in and training you, and your dad coached you in Little League going up in the local neighborhood school clubs, and maybe, but as parents, it was something that we felt we really had to do for his best interest academically, athletically, and just personally.
And so you went to St. Paul, Cole, when? When did you start?
8th grade.
8th grade, you came in. Okay. So you were like the top of the class. You're like, "Ooh, you're the new kid." Everybody's like, "Ooh, we've been with the same kids since kindergarten, right?" You got to be the
Yeah.
new guy. I didn't realize that my younger son came in at 7th grade. So I didn't realize we had that kind of in common. But yeah, it takes a lot of courage, right? It takes a lot of courage, start over, start new, all of
Yeah.
that stuff, and then go into being serious. So when you came into high school, you were kind of a man with a plan. You kind of knew what you were looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you decide on that journey? So talk to me also about, let's talk about some mental fortitude. Okay. So mental fortitude to play 3 sports, go forward, and knowing that at some point one sport probably has to dominate, right? And that kind of piece of it. So what did the rest of your high school career look like? And then going into the college piece.
Well, I did baseball freshman year on top of football and wrestling. Got to sophomore year, and I was like, having football and wrestling and baseball, I got to drop one of those if I want to focus on one or two. So I dropped baseball after my freshman year, started focusing more on football and wrestling because baseball took a lot of time, especially like summer ball and everything like that. And that was something like I wasn't playing a ton my freshman year and stuff like that. Like started to take the back seat. Like I wasn't as good at it anymore as I was in Little League. So I've started focusing more on football and wrestling. And then throughout the next 2 years, I'd say by the end of my junior year, I started receiving scholarships for football. And then I'd have some interest for wrestling and stuff. But like that's when I recognized like if I'm receiving scholarships to play football, I might as well focus more on that. But as I did, I still continued to wrestle throughout high school.
So on that one, if you recognize that let's talk about going through the recruitment process, right? So let's just start with a caveat saying, okay, both of you are super blessed, right? You're coming from parents who play collegiate sports, you're coming up, so that's just the norm for you. For most people, this is a huge not norm, right? You're already in some elite kind of bracket. So you're getting the scholarship offers, you are feeling just what, excited, trepidation, anything in there?
Yeah, excited, curious, see what's the best offer I could get, like where do I like to go, like start visiting these schools and seeing like what kind of coaches I like, what kind of campuses are look nice and stuff like that.
And so, Jen, what advice did you give him now? Now we're talking the young man transition into a
Mhm.
whole new bracket.
Yeah, so he was getting, I think he ended up with what, 13, 12, 13
Something like that. I don't remember.
different offers and talking to different places. And, from a mom's point of view, of course, I'm like, can you stay kind of close? I don't want to lose you too far. And then, academically, it was, what do you want to do with your life? Because this is only going to last so long. And, where's your heart at? What do you think you want to do when you get out and when you're in the workforce? And, then athletically, just talking to the other coaches and talking to coaches and seeing where is it that family atmosphere and where is he going to feel comfortable and who's going to take care of my baby the best, when I'm not around and when he's gone on the field for 12 hours a day. So it was something that, I mean, you'll hear me say this a lot, but it was, did you pray about this? Have you prayed about this? God will hear, you'll know where you're supposed to be, and God will close the doors for you and open other doors and put you exactly where He wants you. So um, that's kind of the resounding thing in my life, and with my kids, I really try and hammer home with them.
So Cole, how have you inculcated that? How have you taken that piece in?
On what piece? Sorry.
On the praying part. On the
Praying
praying.
for it.
Yeah.
Like whenever like you're having like a challenge or whatever on that, like I always go and pray for it. Like I pray for like whatever his reason is for this challenge, make it be like something positive at the end or teach me a lesson at the end. So in the future, like no matter what it was in the past, it's something I can learn from and grow from. So it's always like leading me in the right direction, no matter what it is.
So I think there's so many moms out there. You're making a lot of moms out there super happy, because I think there's a myth, or there's a belief that, like, again, you went through a Catholic high school, so you had to go to mass. It was coupled with, right, going to football games, and you prayed before, and it was just part of it. And there's a huge fear that as soon as you're done with that structure, you're done. You're done with God. But you're telling me, what I'm hearing is that you still are an active praying young man who's out there looking to God to guide your life.
Yes, every day.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, what do you do? What's your prayer practice?
I pray before bed every single night. When I'm like before a game or something like that, I'll pray to him every single game, practice, no matter what it is. Like constantly talking to him throughout the day, or like through a challenge or whatever it might be.
See, all the moms out there are starting to tear up, because I'm starting to
Mhm.
tear up. And Jen, what about you? How do you still pray for Cole, even though he's this big, strapping, young 24-year-old buck?
Oh my gosh, I pray for him every day. I pray that God's going to lead him and open the doors and, close the doors that he doesn't want him, at, and just open the doors and just use him as an instrument to see, God's love for other people to see what kind of a great kid he is. And, I've prayed since he was little that God would lead him, to his future wife and lead him, to his friends for life and lead him to the job he's supposed to be in and the team. And it's something that as you look back and you see doors close and you look forward and you see why they closed and who's in his life now and why he's in certain places, it's something I like to remind him of, like, this is why this didn't happen. This is why you're not at this school. God knew this was going to happen and he wanted you here. And that's something I really try and remind all my children of. It's not always easy. It's not always the answer you want, and it's not always where you want to be. But at the end of the day, it's a reason and it's where you're meant to be.
Yeah, it's funny how the older you get, the more you have in the rear view mirror, the
Mhm.
more things make sense. You're like,
Right.
I didn't understand at that time, that twist and turn, but it's starting to all come together. Well,
Right.
let's talk about this. So I think also that a lot of people out there that are listening are now totally fascinated about the two of you, but also are wondering, how have you kept this really strong relationship between you? Have you always been able to talk to each other? What does that look like through the ages? Like, was Cole always like a talkative kid, like, oh, mommy, and comes up and hug you, and then just kept going? Or what did that look like? So people give people hope that they can get to this point.
Yeah, he was always cuddly when he was little, and he liked to sleep with me till he was like 4, and I had to kick him out of bed because I was having his sister. But he was a wild child, he's the jump around, maybe I'll catch him for a little hug. Um, he's definitely I'm more the mom, we have the conversations every day, how's football, blah, blah, blah. But his dad and him have the business conversations, I want to call it, talk more shop and sport. And I'm more, are you feeling okay? Are you, can I have a big hug? I miss your hugs. Or before he leaves, I'm trying to, stack up on hugs to, stick him away. When he was little, he was very, I hope you don't care if I tell this story, but kindergarten, he was not having the detachment. He was an attached, very clingy little guy, and kindergarten was hard. I had to write him a letter and stick it in his pocket every day and kiss it with lipstick and tell him, I'm right here, I'll be back. Nothing's changing. He's like, I have to get on the bus. Nothing can change on my schedule. And so he ended up having to go to kindergarten every day just to keep that schedule, knowing. But he's definitely my cuddler and my lover and sweet, sweet boy. But that doesn't change.
So, Cole, what about now? How often do you guys talk?
We still talk every day. Like, we'll text every single day. We'll probably call each other every other day, no matter what it is. She'll text me good night every single night. Still, no matter like what I'm doing or whatever it is, like I've always get that text at night I look forward to. So we
Oh,
talk
that's
every
great.
every day.
Oh, that's great. And so you've been able to, obviously go through all sorts of challenges, et cetera. Have you ever been, had a serious injury or had to go through anything like that in your sports career?
Honestly, no, I haven't. I've been very lucky and thankful that I have not been able to go through any of that.
Yeah, so I didn't think so. I'm not trying to bring that on. I just say that because I also want to, because you're my football family, along other things. I do want to give a little plug for football because football, of course, is like really struggling in many ways, and people don't want to put their kids in football. And there's going to be people out there, Jen, who are like haters and like, how I can't believe you put your kids in tackle football because of all the
Mhm.
brain concussions and blah 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 and on and on. So let's give a plug a little bit for football. And what do you think football has taught you specifically, Cole?
To believe in myself, like no matter like there's always gonna be someone better than you or someone that's working harder than you, but like at the end of the day you gotta work as hard as you can because like it's out of your control what other people do. Like football teaches you your opponents are gonna work, they're gonna do their best. But at the end of the day you gotta do your best and figure out what you're doing to make yourself achieve. And that relates to the real world too, like in businesses and stuff, you have opponents in business who's also working against you, working every single day as hard as they can. So football teaches life lessons is like you're always up against someone if it's across the line of scrimmage or if it's in the real world in a business. You got to outwork your opponents and you just got to trust yourself and do what you can do and control.
So, Jen, what about you? Did you have any concern about him being in football all these years and on and on?
Oh, always. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't eat on Saturday mornings. If it's an 8 o'clock game, I'm starving by the time the game's over. I can't eat before games. I can't drink. I can't, it's been like that forever. I think this with both the boys, it's something if you ever see me in the stands, you'll see me there with my eyes closed half the time, just praying and, asking for angels to watch over them because it's it is super, super, super frightening watching your kids go up against, you know, a dozen other kids on the field. And it's something though that at the end of the day you have to know that they've conditioned themselves, they've trained, they've practiced, and their coaches have put them in, the best position for them and taught them technique. I think is huge to keep them safe.
Yeah, and I think, but having said that, right, there's that part, which I think so many people focus in on. And then at the other side, is there anything more exciting? Like, especially,
Oh
let's take
yeah.
wrestling. Like, who knew that a 1 minute round could be like
Right.
30 minutes, right? It's the most heart pounding. If you've never been a mom of a wrestler, have your kid wrestle and find out.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. It's the best. I love football. I'm a huge football mom, but wrestling is there's no high like it. Like it's team, it's self, it's you on that mat against, yourself basically. So,
100%. It is quite the thrill as the mom to
mhm,
to watch your kid wrestle and any sport, but it's also the achievement is huge, right?
right.
And seeing them achieve and I do think I love to see men and young boys blossom through football. It's a huge piece of it. So what's next for you two? Right. So I mean, so tell me where you are, Cole. You're finishing up now your master's degree. So what's your actual degrees in? What'd you choose
I
to
got
study?
my undergrad in sports management, and right now I'm
Okay.
doing a master's degree in human resources.
Okay. And so
So
what's next?
right now I'm training for the pro day for the NFL. So I'm going
Hmm.
through that, which is at the end of March, to see how that goes. If it goes to play somewhere professionally, if it's UFL, NFL, no matter what it is. So right now I'm training for that and trying to finish the degree.
That is so exciting, right? So Jen, is that like a dream come true? Like you're I mean, you're talking to your other friends, you're like, "Oh yeah, here's what my kid's doing."
Mm,
That's
yeah, I don't we don't talk about it a lot. I am it's they do talk about it. They do ask what he's doing, but it's something, he's still hammering away, working out, doing his thing. It's every little kid's dream, and if if it's gonna go, it's gonna go, and like I said, the right door will open. If it's ready for him to jump into the workforce, then that's what time for two. He's had an amazing football career. Amazing. He broke so many school records and starting and team captain, and he's done things, most kids don't get to do. So,
yeah, it's incredible. So I mean, Cole, do you have like a fan base at this point? You got a following? Are people like out there rooting you on to see, right? How
I
the
guess
long tail effect of Cole Potts?
I guess just like the JMU fans and like people back from home. So that's who I'd say. So nothing huge, but like just the communities.
Well, I think it's huge. I think you should remember that there are so many people like in your world that you're in. This is just you're around all the people that are doing all the same thing, and sometimes you forget, right? What a that like that's not the maybe the norm. And but I'll say this. I mean, because I'm in a sort of similar situation with my own sons, but when somebody I we get a lot of naysayers. We get all the people saying like, "Oh, it's like, 1% or 7% or this many people ever playing collegiate level stuff." And I remember sitting specifically at St. Paul and going to like the some whatever we had to do required sport parent thing.
mhm.
And they show all the, percentages for how many people go by each sport into that. And I was looking at that and I was like, okay, so it's whatever, 7%. So why can't we be the 7%?
Right.
Somebody has to be that, right? Somebody
That's right.
gets to be the mom of a Cole Potts out there. So why not you? And I love your mentality with it, of doing that and not having the fear, drive you, because I think so many of us are driven by just total fear about what's going to happen, right? And if we honestly, on a side note, it's always those kids that get hurt that break their arm like within 2 weeks of like youth football.
That's true.
I
That
hate to
is
say it,
true.
but it's so true, right? It's
Yeah.
always that kid. All right, so you're working out, you're doing all your stuff. Just out of total curiosity, because I know people ask me this all the time with boys. What does your nutrition plan look like, Cole? And how did you keep up with feeding him Jen? That's a big
Oh my
question
gosh.
there. So how much do you now eat? You now eat, Cole. Food in a boy household is a huge deal. Huge deal.
As a in college right now, I'd say like they're very good at like nutrition here. So like a lot of it's protein and carbs. Like pasta, steak, pasta, chicken, pasta, rice, chicken, like 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day. Just like stay above 5,000 calories.
Yep. And then how did that look when you were having to raise him, Jen? Did you get to the
Oh
point
my
where
gosh.
he's making his own food, or you're making 4 meals, 5 meals a day?
He he started making some eggs here and there, but it was typically protein shakes, lots of leftovers cooking. Oh my gosh, a gallon of milk a day, constantly having to have multiple gallons in the fridge, chocolate milk, white milk, um, lots of protein. And I'm still trying to learn. My husband's like, can you like make dinner for four people or us? And no, I still can't quite figure out how to cook without having coal around because I always have a ton of leftovers. Like,
All the
but
Oh
when
my
he,
gosh, it's so true. All the portions, things changes,
yes,
right? You can't
yeah,
adjust. Yeah, it's
no,
tough. It's tough.
then yeah, now it's still like, oh, I'm coming down. Can I bring you anything? Or um, can I DoorDash you food? Are you hungry? Or just making sure he's getting enough to eat, which he is, that's just the mom side of you trying to control
Yeah.
what you can control.
Yeah. But I think, Cole, do you remember, and this is for all my moms out there who are listening with those kids in that, probably 10 to 15. When did you really start to like, you're about to eat your arm off? Do you remember what age that was when like your hunger just went through the roof?
No, I
Like
don't
2 days
honestly.
old.
It's always been the case.
Yeah.
The
He
so
was
let's
the chunkiest baby ever.
I know I never drank water. It was always milk. So I
always
still
milk.
still do that. My roommates make fun of me for it too, and they're like, "You just drink a gallon of milk every 2 days."
Oh, well, there's your new NIL deal right there, right?
Yeah.
Milk.
You could be the sponsor for milk, but it's you're a good milk fed baby. That's good. That's good,
Yeah.
right? Strong bones. Okay, that's excellent. Well, I
Yeah.
say that because there's so many kids out there, boys especially, and they come in and the first, it's 7 o'clock at night. They're trying to concentrate on math and English, and they're like keeling over. And my first question is like, "When's the last time you ate?" And they're like 12 years old. I'm like, "Oh, 11 a.m. this morning." I'm like, "No, no, no." And the
Yeah.
moms don't understand. Like, this is not a girl. Like, this is a
Right.
different human being.
Yeah.
And
No, they need to eat.
they're capable of far more eating than you have any idea.
Yeah. Oh, he'd
Well,
come home from school, get a snack. His grandma lived across the street from us. So he'd come home, I'll get off the bus, get a snack. I'd be taking care of his sister or brother or something. And oh, this happened twice actually. Cole would disappear and go over to Nanny's house and get another snack. And
double
then
dipping, double dipping.
he did he did
Boy,
that with breakfast too, our old neighbors. I would give him breakfast. He loves cereal. And I'd get a call from my neighbor who was, we lived in the country and it was safe. So I'm not a bad mom, but she'd be like, "Hey, Cole's over here. He said he hasn't had breakfast." I'm like, "No, Debbie, he had breakfast, but feel free to give him another bowl of cereal." So
oh, I love it. Smart man, right? Hey, you know what? You just look cute and be like, "Somebody give you milk."
Yeah.
he loves to eat.
That is great. Well, hopefully everything goes well with your training. You get at least another month and a half to keep eating at that level, and hey, maybe that's enough to go and play at that next level. You can just keep eating at that point because at some point you'll have to dial it back, right? But
Yeah.
you, you love to eat, which is another hard part of the athlete world when you figure out you're not performing in that level anymore. But maybe
Mhm.
just morphs into something else. So, what are you going to do with your, let's say whenever your career does, you go into your, you know, official job career, if you will, the work career. What do you envision you're going to do with that combo HR sports management piece?
I've still been thinking about that, honestly. I'm not really sure. I thought I wanted to be an athletic director for a little bit, but I decided like that's not really what I want to do. I don't want to be out at 10 p.m. every night and try and have a family at the same time. So I know I still want to be something in athletics and sports, but I'm still trying to figure out what kind of piece or like where at in that situation.
Well, I love it. Well, hopefully you can get on that and just start influencing more boys to one, just be athletic, whether they're in a structured sport or not, right? But take care of their bodies, work their bodies. It's such an important piece of being healthy. So, Jen, what about you? Kind of as we wrap up, final thoughts
Mhm.
on what you want to advice you would give to moms out there, boy moms that are sitting there and they're going, "What do I do?
Yeah.
What should I do with that?"
I mean, boys and girls are so different, but for boys, I just say don't try and put them in a box. Let them be boys, let them play, let them eat ants, let them dig in the dirt, let them jump around on the couches and focus their energy in a positive way. Let them try whatever they want to try and they'll come back. They're your babies and boys, you know, boys are mom's best friends and
Yeah.
continue to be.
What,
So,
what's the best advice that you feel like Cole's ever given you, Jen?
he just really tells me he's proud of me and to keep working hard, and so hearing your kid tell you when they're proud of you, that's a big deal.
That is awesome. Cole, what about
Yeah.
you? Best piece of advice you've gotten from your mom?
Oh, she just constantly tells me to pray on any situation. She's always praying for me and stuff like that. So always just rely on God, and He'll help me guide the way.
What about advice to other men who don't have this type of relation with their mom, or they don't reach out to their mom? What kind of advice or help can you give them?
It only takes like a phone call, so it's not that hard to pick up the phone and just dial it. Sometimes I may struggle with that, so she's usually good at calling me first before I'm able to get to the phone with her or ask her how her day is. But if I live 6 hours away now, so it's easy to pick up a phone that's in your pocket.
And I think that I'll speak for all moms. I think that sometimes the boys have no idea how big of a deal that is to moms, right? It's just that one little
Yeah.
thing, one little text. It's just amazing. It just makes your entire day. So, all the boys out there and young men and men that are listening to this, call your mom. I don't know if you've seen that guy on
Yeah.
Instagram who says, call your mom, but call your mom. It's really important. It makes the absolute day. Well, final
Yeah.
thoughts for either one of you for today for our show.
Oh, good. Thank you very
I
much.
love this. Thanks for doing it. There's nothing like a mom and a son relationship.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
it's so true. So Cole, if we want to find you on YouTube, can we find you? You got
you
footage
might
out
be
there we
able
can look
to.
at?
I'm
All
not
right,
sure
can we
about
find
YouTube.
all right, well, we can find you on the certainly in the walls of JMU fame, Hall of Fame, right? You'll be there in one day, I'm sure, but you've got some records out there. And Jen, if we want to find you and we've got some real estate questions, where are we going to go find you?
yeah. Yeah. Facebook, Gen Yanulavich, mortgages, real estate, whatever you need.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being on here. God bless. Stay strong. Hope to
Thank
see you soon.
you.
Bye.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.